fool in the streets, and when I was prosecuted for doing what's wrong. And now I thank him for standing with me for being prosecuted for doing what's right. A lot of people talk about King, but they don't know King. They don't know that there was only like 5 churches who stood with him. When he won the victory, everybody came to be with him and dance with him and praise him. But people don't know King was not a conformer. They don't know that King was an extremist. They don't know that King went the distance and by all means sacrificed his life for the people. But before I go into my speech, I want everybody to stand for the unsung heroes and everybody who has something to do with this great event today. Because a lot of times we talk about when people not doing the right thing, but today the right thing is happening. I would like to quote a few words of wisdom by some great men. And these words of wisdom I wake up thinking about every day. It gives me my strength outside of seeing my grandmother every day who worked hard with her husband, and people like William Haywood and Debbie Roundtree who helped raise me some of the greatest lawyers in the world who marched with Dorothy Heights, who stood with Dorothy Heights. A lot of people don't know where my wisdom comes from, where my spirit comes from. Muhammad Ali once said that the rent that you pay here on earth is what you pay is service to others. Service to others is the rent you pay for being here on earth. Gandhi once said, never underestimate the little people. He said, if you don't believe me, shut the doors and the window at nighttime and lock yourself in a room with a mosquito and see what happens to you. Also, King once said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. Anybody who knows me, I'm a very controversial person. And I don't bite my tongue just to get along. Because I know our children are dying every day because black folks in Maryland and DC are sacrificing, telling the truth, just to get along with folks. If you look at the Washington Hospital Center, from 2006 to 2010, 1,458 people were treated for gunshots. During the same period, over 1,300 people were treated for stab wounds. Over the same period, 1,200 people were treated for assaults. This is one hospital, 4,003 people treated for injuries that weren't self-inflicted. And we sit around and let them put this fake data on TV, talking about things are better. What's gotten better? Every time I get ready to pick my phone up, somebody's getting shot and killed. Or shot and not dying, and because of good medicine, we talking about things are better. I know of young men who've been shot in the head twice and haven't died. So medicine has gotten better. In Washington, D.C. alone, lockups for youth, for thefts, are up 173%. For burglaries, 90%. And when we go in our communities and talk to the youth, they say they don't feel safe. But what are we doing? Well, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Because we've sat down for too long. All these great people, and we're great people. But negative things happen when positive people do nothing. So what's happening now is, if you look around the world, youth are standing up. The same thing that happened in 1963. Most people, when I go into schools and I go into church, I ask people, what happened in 1963? Who ended segregation? Martin Luther King. But they don't know the story behind it. Martin Luther King went to jail, and he called all the people in the church to follow him, and nobody will follow. A man by the name of Reverend James Bell, who helped train me and my partner, Jahar Abraham, who trained us. See, we didn't get trained by these folks up here. That's why I know how to drink muddy water. I can go through hard times and good times. It don't make any difference. These people up here didn't train me. But what we learned was that when King called on the adults, all they worried about was their pretty cars, their houses, and a job. And they wouldn't sacrifice for their people. They wouldn't even sacrifice for the king. Over 5,000 children went to jail and ran bull cart out of town. You can't go to one high school in DC or Maryland and learned that story. None of the children know. I never lose the bet. I always win the bet because our children don't know their history. And who should we blame for that? With all black elected officials running our schools for the last 30 years. Forgive Michelle Reed, because we don't address our own mess. We can't talk about what an Asian woman has done to us. We got to start cleaning our own mess up. Because God won't give us the power to deal with people who are oppressing us. And what we do is, every time one of us do something wrong, and this was happening to our politicians, they just like children. Small mistakes turn to big mistakes when not corrected. So because we love somebody, we don't know how to give them tough love. So a small mistake turns into a big mistake that they can't correct, and eventually they bring themselves down and they bring our communities down. So in my book, we are more guilty than the politicians because we let them destroy ourselves, and most of them could have been the greatest leaders we ever had and we ever seen because they had the potential. But just like our children, we don't correct them when they're wrong. We're scared of them. And we don't understand this. We the people who are the government. We are the government. The people downtown work for us. The budget down there belongs to us, not them. And when we go to talk to them, they talk down to us, and we accept that. And then when you get brothers who willing to stand up, you let them slander their name. You become conformists. King wasn't a conformer. All these people coming in here, if they knew how to get to the children, we wouldn't be talking about statehood in the District of Columbia. And I'm going to close on this. A revolution is coming. And it's up to us to decide whether it's going to be a positive revolution. People are now working. You go in D.C. where we have all these billions of dollars in developments, and nobody from D.C. or PG County get a job. Even the people with skills can't get a job. And we sitting back and our elected officials, and we letting it happen. We ain't doing nothing. In London, you saw the riots, you saw what happened. Okay? We know what happened in Washington, D.C. in 1968 with the riots. And we know what happened in Birmingham, Alabama with the Children's March, when the children in the segregation. So it's up to us to go back and reach to those children and mold them and guide them in the right direction. So this revolution is coming that we have no control over, that comes every 50 years or so it's a positive revolution. And we don't destroy everything that we build up once again. Thank you.